A few days ago, I was on the train heading to the city, and people always joke about how New York City has giant rats everywhere, and it's true. They steal our pizza, buy our subway tickets, they show up to the Yankees game, showering in the bathrooms. Well, while I was on the train, the irony that this appeared on my Instagram feed. Now, just warning y'all before I play this, if you're eating right now, maybe watch this video later. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to what I'm showing in this video. I just know some people are going to be disgusted.
In India, there is a temple with 25,000 rats, and people worship them. The locals believe that the rats are the reincarnation of a goddess for followers as well as their own family members.
I am very happy.
Inside the temple, you'll see people feeding rats by hand and drinking milk out of the same bowl, despite being the dirtiest creatures on earth.
I'm in the back alley of the rat temple here. You can see the rats are just feasting on all this food, drinking water, and in all the cracks of the walls, like literally everywhere. It's just pretty bizarre.
What do you think of India's rat temple? I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below.
Now, this is, you know when people say respect everyone's culture, respect everyone's religion? I mean, I'm not saying I disagree. It's just that I'm surprised. Hopefully nobody brings their cat here, or hey, maybe this is a paradise or heaven for all you cat boys. Hey, now it's not funny or cool to be a cat boy, right? Because this looks like a place you should visit since you're all like cat face, meow, meow, sleep with me on Discord, cat face. Now, here's the thing about this, and I have an interesting perspective. I want to correct something first to what he said in this video. Rats aren't the filthiest. I know there's a bad stigma. I know they have a bad stigma because in historical events where they have been outbreaks, rats were associated with disease. And it's not completely historically true. It was really fleas that were the primary spreaders during the plague. People were banning rats because they carried fleas. And during the medieval times, rats were in close proximity to humans due to poor sanitation. So when people saw a rat, they assumed the rat had fleas, which means they carry the plague. Yes, like every creature, rats can carry disease. However, during the plague, when a rat was infected, the rat would just be laying on the street dead and the flea would just seek a new host. And very much that would either be another rat or it would be a human. In most cases, it would be a human. So in modern times, we understand that rats were involved, but they weren't the primary culprits. And P.S., this is why you're allowed to have pet rats, okay? We're not living in the medieval times anymore. It's just due to the stigmas. When people see rats, they think fleas come with it. Or they just think that the rat has a disease. But it's really, again, it's the fleas. It's just not always true. Now, even though I say this, all right, I'm not sure about the things I saw in this video about how they're drinking milk out of a bowl with rats. You have to keep in mind that even though rats are rodents and may look cute to some of you, they have no control over their bowels. I'm playing this clip again in the background with no audio, and you'll notice there's poop everywhere. Like, let's go back to how I started this, about how people say respect everyone's culture and religion. Well, when we override hygiene and sanitary concerns because of our faith, it's a little bit concerning to me. I was reading the post on the Instagram, the comments, and people are cooking India. Like, they're saying all these Indian stereotypes, and naturally you'll see Indians defending themselves. And some of the arguments they're making is very interesting to me. Someone made an argument that, and I think this is stupid. No, I can't call it what it is. I think this is idiotic. Someone said, well, Americans and people in the West have dog and cat cafes. It's not really a good comparison. Dog and cat cafes, yes, like the temple here, it's a controlled environment for animals, right? Though this may be subjective to some people when it comes to a bunch of rats running around in the temple, pooping on the floor, and people rolling around in it and sharing food with it. Technically, it's still a controlled environment, just like a dog and cat cafe, right? Okay, it's just a bunch of rats live here instead. The reason why it's not a good comparison is because dog and cat cafes involve animals that are traditionally companion animals, bred and trained to coexist with humans in specific, manageable ways. Dogs and cats are naturally territorial and can be trained to relieve themselves in certain areas, like outside, in the backyard, or a litter box. This is because they have the psychological capacity to understand and adapt to training. Rats, on the other hand, they don't have that level of control. While they are intelligent, right, and they can be litter trained to an extent, rats, they lack the psychological ability to hold their bowel movements. As a result, they leave poop wherever they move, often as part of marking their territory. At the temple that exists in India, that as you saw in the video, while the environment is technically controlled, the presence of thousands of rats, thousands upon thousands of rats, means constant droppings, which is simply a natural part of a rat's behavior. You can't objectively say this is sanitary and hygienic. I understand this is a certain version of Hinduism, okay? But here's where this doesn't even make any further sense. And this is maybe a little bit too political here. I could have sworn, and I did my research right before recording this video, and I'm asking this question rhetorically because this is a fact. Doesn't India have a hunger problem? Many people are in poverty and malnourished. So let me get this straight. The food, water, and milk that can be used to support starving and malnourished people are instead being offered to thousands upon thousands of rats inside of a temple? What kind of resource allocation is this? In a country that has a huge gap between the rich and the poor. You know, when your parents say eat all the food on your plate because, you know, there are people who are starving. Well, you know, some countries they're giving it to rats. Well, I would say, so I'm saying countries, but I'll just say in India, they're giving it to rats. Okay. Specifically in this area. And this is the main thesis of this video. Like, cause you may ask, what's the point again? Right? The question is, the thesis here, where do we draw the line between devotion and practicality? Yes, I see all these people who are Hindu or from India in the comments to that Instagram post defending their culture and their faith. I'm not here to attack faith or question the sincerity of devotion, the sincerity of it. It's clear to me that this temple holds significance to many people. It's just, can we rationalize animals or nature or anything being sacred when we ignore hygiene and objective reasoning for what we do? Let's think about this a bit more logically, because the video I showed, I think, romanticizes the temple. Are we going to act like rats don't die? This is a temple filled with thousands upon thousands of rats. I read tourist reviews online, and my speculation was correct. You know what they're saying these tourist reviews are saying? They're saying there are dead rats everywhere. And let me ask y'all a question. You don't have to be a rocket science to know this. What happens when an animal dies? Decomposition. You start seeing insects like flies. There's a foul odor, right? You know, that smell of death. So how do you think the temple smells? Which people are saying in the review doesn't smell too good. You know, what do you think is going on with those dead rats? Do you think the other rats are eating them? Do you think maybe some insects came in because there's dead rats? I'm not saying nobody cleans it up, but you know, this is, you know, you got to keep in mind all this maintenance. Rather, the place where this temple is at, there are so many rats running around that it's a rat town. Forget what I said about the catboys only going to the temple. Hey, it's all over the town. I've seen this in the reviews. And sure, just because a bunch of rats are running around the town in a temple, there isn't going to be another plague. I hope. Okay, let me knock on wood. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying there's going to be another plague. But that doesn't mean just because there's no like plague going on, there's a bunch of rats running around your town and in this temple, it doesn't mean that this is safe or sanitary. The lack of another outbreak due to them feeding these rats and I suppose cleaning them, whatever, it doesn't just eliminate a potential health risk. Rats can still carry disease, which can be transmitted to humans. The excuse some people are making to romanticize this by saying, yo, you know, rats are very hygienic and clean animals. You know, to an extent, technically they do clean, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, they have no disease, bro. Never any disease has been reported in this place in India. They've been fed in a controlled space, and that's how we control. Like, yo, I hear you. But yes, the rats are inside the temple and are in a moderated environment. But human beings, outsiders, tourists, anybody can visit this temple and bring their sickness. This isn't some temple that's behind, like, this isn't some temple in like some zoo or something. And like these rats are behind a glass window. You know what I'm saying? This is a place anyone can go into. You could just walk in there. You know what I'm saying? Rather, they say if you go in there and a rat runs over your foot, it's good luck. Would I do that? People are walking around in there barefoot and drinking water and milk with these rats who will have their bacteria because, if you share a drink with somebody, another animal like a rat or anything, you're sharing you know what I'm saying? Like, and then the next guy or girl who goes in there, it's not like they killed the rat right after they drink out of the same bowl as the rat. That rat is going to drink someone else's bowl that they're sharing with the rat. You know what I'm saying? And then, you see how this is how sickness starts. Like, why do I have to explain this? Why do I have to explain this? This will create contamination. And for anybody who has ever owned a pet rat, my ex had one. Let me tell you, rats have a huge problem. Well, it's not a problem. It's not a problem really, but rats are known for their chewing behavior. Rats will chew on anything: your hair, your furniture, your clothes, your carpet, walls, wood, wires. They will chew at any infrastructure. They just chew. That's it. They just like chewing stuff. And here we go with the safety hazards. Okay, you got all these rats living in the walls and stuff. They chewing on the walls. They chewing on the, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes religious beliefs or traditions are more harmful than they are symbolic. Devotional practices are meant to uplift human beings and help communities, even if it doesn't make sense to you. You see another culture or religion having a certain practice, like these people with the rats here. And I think we should all be tolerant and respect it, even if it's not for you. However, when a religious practice, any sort of devotion, becomes harmful and it becomes a concern for resources, health risks, and honestly, in this case, this is a little bit of concern with inequality. This is an example of how rats are being treated better than people. This is like heaven to them. Having a religious belief or practice does not mean you have to avoid all your critical thought. But with religion, we make that exception. If I told y'all a story that happened hundreds of years ago about something that would seem fictional in an everyday situation or any other context, you would call me schizophrenic or say I'm a psycho, right? But with religion, we don't care about that. If a story or an idea is tied to a religion, we accept it without hesitation. People have written full-blown books and doctrines based on stories from hundreds of years ago that cannot be verified by first-hand accounts. Or if we were to be the most rational we could be, like logic, the story doesn't even make sense. And yet, through faith, people dedicate their entire lives to these beliefs without the same scrutiny or logic we apply to almost everything else in life. This is a perfect example of that. It's fascinating. And I respect that you believe rats are connected to a Hindu deity. However, I don't think my perspective or feedback on what I witnessed is unfair. I think the cultural and religious significance of what's happening here is amazing, but perhaps we're over romanticizing it a bit more, like a bit too much. We do that with many different belief systems. That's why I say in my videos that while I am a religious person, I approach everything as a symbolic entity or something allegorical. I approach everything symbolic or allegorical rather than literal. I'm not going to take everything at face value unless, of course, we're ready to dive headfirst into that rabbit hole. Anyway, what y'all think about this? Where's the line crossed? Let me know down below. This episode is found on Spotify and YouTube. Times Square.
Nightmare 7 a.m. in the morning though. No surprise. Times Square's you and I under those lights. No disguise. Don't tell me everything you wanted was a lie. All those city lights, it's an endless night. Never expected you to bring me so much life. Close my eyes too long, then it's time to say goodbye. Let's dance all night until the stars don't show glow. Till the sunrise, then we go solo. Making up for all the times that we were low. Let's make some memories before we do go. Let's dance all night until the stars don't show glow. Till the sunrise, then we go solo. Making up for all the times that we were low. Let's make some memories before we do go. Caution, wait a moment, keep my heart locked away, it's